you told me that one. We work with another guy named Caden. You've already seen Caden. Caden helps us with, for people who follow me on my Instagram and LinkedIn, we do a lot of videos, kind of these 1 minute videos, and he helps us with those. So he's done a lot of Instagram. So this is more of a general hack, if you will, but I think it's a good one. It has to do with reels versus stories. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't do this very well, but he works with some real estate agents as well as mortgage brokers who do this really well. So what the tip is basically use the reels to kind of build the trust. So like the reels should honestly be, and the videos, the things you post that are going to be there forever, that should all just be like education, should be things that if someone looked 5 months later, they're going to say, hey, A, this is valuable, and B, he's not trying to sell me anything. He's actually
Mm-hmm.
trying to help me, right? And so that's really how you can build that following. That's great. The tip becomes though is using stories to actually sell. And I agree with this. I'm actually interested in your opinion, Maryah, if you agree. But what he showed in his example, and I think it works really, really well, is okay, do those reels, build the trust, but in the stories, really kind of hit home the sale. Say, hey, I just helped Bob. I closed the sale. I got the rate that the bank couldn't. I'm crushing it. If you want the same thing, give me a call. And then,
Mm-hmm.
2 hours later, doing another story, just helped whoever, this next
Yeah.
person, whatever it might be. Really tricky deal, but we figured it out. If you are in a similar situation, you got to call me. And it doesn't seem, I don't know why, but it doesn't seem as salesy in that story just because it's a moment in time. What do you
Yeah.
think? What do you think?
I think it's that thing that I was kind of alluding a few minutes back. That is, to the moment that you're posting a story, it's more like you being relatable, you showing your day to day, you
Right.
showing what are you working in. To that point, you become like it becomes more of a personal relationship
Mm,
than actually just them trying to sell. And then for the borrower, it brings them like, oh, this person actually works with other people. It brings almost like they're not just making all these videos, because nowadays it's pretty easy, anyone can create very fancy videos, very educative, that nowadays, yes, it's a differentiator, but it's not that big of a thing
hmm.
anymore.
Yeah.
So now these stories kind of bridge that gap in between. Okay, I provided value, how can I make myself relatable? Because it's that thing that I was saying, people buy from a person, not from a brand.
Hmm.
It's like, how can they trust me? How can they see that I'm actually going to put their best interest on top of everything that I'm doing in here?
Right.
It's like I'm looking for their success and not for mine.
No, I think it's true. And I think, people have this assumption, I think, a little bit with a reel where it's very thought out. So if I did a reel,
Mm,
like on my profile, it's gonna be there forever. It's like, hey, what's
exactly.
he trying to sell me, right? What's going on here? I think people kind of are on their guard a little bit. Where with a story, if you do it genuinely, like if you're not trying to actually, bait these stories that you're doing, if you're honestly like, hey, like literally I just got a call with a client and they said thank you so much and we were able to do things that the bank couldn't or whatever the situation might be. If you're honest about that, yes, it does maybe seem salesy on the surface, but as long as it's genuine, I don't think people are taken aback. They're just kind of, okay, well that's what Tom's doing today, right? He's really
Yeah.
helping people. And so yeah, I mean the reels kind of help you with those search engine things, help you build the network, help you build all things. I think this story is that great way to kind of bridge that gap and say, okay, now, hey, I've shown you, I kind of know what I'm talking about. Okay, here's a real life example. This is specifically what I can do. And yeah, it kind of goes from maybe marketing into sales. Maybe that's a way to think of it. But if you do it
Yeah.
genuinely, I think it can be really effective.
And that's something that actually it's very important. It's the genuine part of it.
Mm, yeah,
Because if you start like, oh, I'm going to make a story because people need
yeah,
to know, and then every day you were making the same
yeah.
story and saying the same thing, it's like, okay,
People are
I
pretty
think
smart
this is
about
just a
that. Yeah,
script. Exactly, like
yeah.
just a script. So maybe, let's say, for example, every day you do close a deal where you get a better rate than the bank.
Hmm.
Ask our client, like, hey, I'm going to make a post. Can I tag you?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, would you be comfortable with it? And because at that point, hopefully you already have a good relationship with them. If they're a little bit in social media, they would be like, sure. And then maybe if you have a referral thing, just let them know, like, hey, if you share these with your friends
Hmm.
and they close a deal with me, I'll give you a referral bonus.
Hmm. Yeah.
So then you're already getting like even an extra thing out of it.
Totally. Yeah. And I think, we've been doing examples where it's like, hey, you close a deal, you do a story. Again, like stories, like you said, connecting with the person is the key. And so it can be whatever. Like if in the morning what you did this morning was, drop off your kids, like do that, right? Be like,
Oh,
listen,
100%.
like, work-life balance is really important and family is really important. And for that borrower who wants a family-oriented person to help them, there you go, right? What's another example? Maybe you're just like meeting a realtor for coffee, or maybe you're just doing cold calls, trying to reach out. Post that, show that you're dedicated, show that you are interested in building these relationships in the community that you're in. Really, as long as you're not just sitting on the couch, I can't think of a
Yeah.
scenario where maybe you wouldn't want to do the story, but if you're genuine with it, I think it's a very
Mm,
natural thing, and it naturally kind of bridges that gap from reels to
yeah.
the sale itself, for sure.
Yeah, it's about showing you're a real person, right?
Yeah.